Hello. So, Iatha, hello, you're here already. You are super prompt. Can you just send me a little message and just make sure that I know that you can hear me okay and that everything's okay with my mic? That'd be really helpful, Iatha, if you wouldn't mind. And I'll just check things on my side. Ah, great. Thank you, Deborah. Oh, hello, Deborah. How are you? Great. Okay, so welcome, guys. I'm just going to say hello to everybody for now. I'm a bit weary today, so I'm sorry. I was up until 1 o'clock this morning on Clubhouse, and I'm not great on not a lot of sleep. So apologies if I'm a little bit sluggish. Let me say hello. So we have Iatha. Hello, welcome, an early bird. Shuvik, hello. Deborah, Zawar, Timaris, Zawar again. Awesome. Where are you guys coming to me from? Let me know. I always love to know kind of how far and wide my broadcast gets. A little bit crazy, actually, how far. I think we had India. We had lots of India last week, which is great. I really, really want to make sure I reach out to India. Had some Egypt. What else have we had? Definitely some Malaysia. Yeah, I'm good, David. Thank you very much for asking. I appreciate that. Deborah, you're in San Francisco. Okay. All right, that's fine, Deborah. I will tell you how round one is structured once we get going. Let's give people a few more minutes to arrive. It always seems to take people a couple of minutes to arrive. I think by the time YouTube notifies everybody. So I can see a good mix of YouTubers and also people from LinkedIn. So awesome. We are streaming on LinkedIn. Guten Tag. Aishwarya. I'm sorry if I've butchered that. I'm really sorry. But guten Tag to you in Germany. Sigurd from Phoenix, Arizona. Very nice. Is it hot there? It must be hot there right now, right? In the summer. And we have Zawaz from Pakistan. Great. Oh, awesome. I'm so pleased I've got somebody from Pakistan. That's really important. Awesome. All right. Do you know what? Let's just get going and see how things go. Usually I run for about an hour. It does depend on how many people come. Obviously, we've had the 4th of July weekend in the US, so I'm not sure how much of the US contingent we'll have today, but we will see. All right. So we've got Denmark here, which is awesome. Oh, Iatha, I just spotted your message. Awesome. I'm gonna get to you very, very quickly then. That's awesome. Okay. Oh, wow. So many people. People have arrived from Clubhouse. So Harry, you've saw me at Clubhouse or heard me at Clubhouse yesterday. So it's very exciting that people cross over platforms. That's awesome. Right. Do you know what? Let's get going. I'm going to do my thing. If you've heard this before, I apologize. Go clean your desk or something like that. But I would just give my spiel and introduce myself for those of you who don't know me particularly well. So I'm Gigi and I am the Amazon interview whiz. I was a senior leader in Amazon, and most particularly for the purposes of which you're here, I was an Amazon interview bar raiser. I now run my own Amazon Interview Preparation Academy, where my mission is to make Amazon interview expertise available to all. So my academy is really built around some really, really deep expert digital courses, which means I can scale it, which means I can price it really competitively. Because when I was bar raising at Amazon, I discovered how much Amazon interview coaching actually costs, like between $200 and $500 an hour. And I thought that was outreach for most people. Certainly, I would think twice about paying that amount of money. So I wanted to be able to make that expertise available to you guys. Along with my paid course, I also have my YouTube channel, which is well topping 2.5, probably on its way to 3 hours worth of totally free Amazon interview coaching, very specific actionable tips there. And I do these Q&A sessions on YouTube and LinkedIn, and now, of course, Clubhouse, where a couple of you have found me. So the way we're going to work today is I will be running through the comments here. Please ask your questions. I will try to pick out questions that I think are most useful for everybody so that we all use our time really well. Warning, I'm not going to be able to answer specific technical questions. There are about 300 job families in Amazon, and no one person can be a technical expert in all of them. I'm absolutely a technical expert in the leadership principles and overall interview strategy. So that's what I'll share with you today. But I won't be able to answer specific questions on the type of coding challenges that you'll have as an SDE or the kind of challenges that you would have as a cloud solution, that type of stuff. I won't be able to go there. The other thing to say is, please don't just say, hi, I'm interviewing for a program manager. Any tips? Of course, 2.5 hours pushing 3 on my YouTube channel. So please don't ask me those type of generic questions. People on YouTube, please, please, please do like the stream and comment on the stream. It feeds the algorithm. It increases its profile. And then other people like you will get to see my content. I do have super stickers and super chat enabled if you want to go in that direction. Other thing to note is I do have PDF notes now available for my entire channel. I'm not sure if it's on the link for this stream, but it'll certainly be on the details of all of my content on my channel. So if you don't want to have to write down everything from the channel, you can go and get yourself those PDF notes. At the end, I will be giving you an amazing freebie. So please do hang around. Right. With all that said and done, why don't we just get going and we see how we get on. Right, so let me just scroll. I'll say hello to people as I go along. Shavik from Canada, awesome, welcome. Mutez from Syria, hello. I see you on YouTube asking me questions all the time. Lovely to see you. Eastern US there. So first of all, let's just do this for Iatha, and then we will go back to Deborah. So you are coming from Amazon now and you got the offer. Congratulations. Everybody, please do congratulate Iatha. It's amazing. You've been to quite a few of my sessions, I do recall. So you've obviously put lots and lots of hard work in. So it's absolutely awesome. Congratulations. Job well done. It is not an easy thing to achieve, but everybody can now see that it is completely achievable with hard work. So congratulations. I'm really pleased for you. Okay, thank you for letting me know as well. It really, really boosts my day when I know that the people that I'm helping actually get their jobs, and it makes me feel that this is time well spent. So congrats. Thank you. All right, so let's do this one quickly for you, Deborah. So round one, how is it structured? It kind of differs because it will depend on what team you're interviewing for. Some teams will really, really focus round one on the technical side of things. I had a conversation with someone on Clubhouse last night. Her round one was just completely technical and had no behavioral questions in it at all. Other teams will mix up technical and behavioral questions in round one, and other teams where their role isn't specifically very technical, they'll just focus on the behavioral interviews. So you kind of have to be prepared for all of those possibilities, depending, Deborah, on the role that you're going for. Broadly speaking, then the structure would just be someone will come and hopefully introduce themselves and give you a little bit of a background as to who they are and where they're coming from. They should explain to you how they plan to run their interview. Everybody kind of runs it a little bit differently. So in the main, you should expect them just to tee up for you what you can expect. That should cover off about 5 minutes for intros. The bulk of the rest of your interview, whether you've got a 45-minute interview or an hours-long interview, will be filled up with those questions, whether they be the technical ones or the behavioral ones. And then at the end, every interviewer should leave time for you to be able to ask them questions. Generally, that's about 5 minutes. So expect 5-minute intro, 5-minute your question time, and then everything else in between is going to be those questions, either the technical or the behavioral. Hope that was helpful. Good luck. Fingers crossed for you. Okay, moving on then. Got some more people from India. That is cool. Harry, yes, from Clubhouse. Alyoji, hello. I'm very well today. Actually, I'm a bit tired after my late night at Clubhouse. It was 1 o'clock in the morning when I got off, but it's all good. Okay, Shamsa from London. Yay, I'm not far away. Somebody else from Egypt, Yasmin from Egypt. Hello. You've got an interview too soon for a media role. Very cool. Okay, so let me just read this question from you, Mutez. Okay, so you'd like me to talk you through this question. So tell you a time when you disagreed with your team and they were wrong, but you committed with them to finish the project. Okay, and then you're asking me, should you project success or failure? Okay, so the question itself is a little strange because I would imagine no one would tell you or ask you a question where you disagreed with your team and they were categorically wrong, but you committed with them to finish the project. Because if it was black and white and they were categorically wrong, then nobody should be finishing the project if it's black and white and they are wrong. So I think there may be a word missing there, which is you disagree with your team because you think they're wrong, but you committed with them to finish the project. So let's pretend that's the actual question. And then if your question is, should the project be a success or failure? It'll be what it is. Like either it was a success or it was a failure. You don't have to change the outcome of the project because that's not the point of the question. The point of the question is not whether the project was a success or a failure. The point of the question is, and this is a have backbone, disagree and commit question. The point of the question is for the interviewer to gather the data on how you went about having backbone. Did you present your data accurately? Did you come with data? How did you approach different people? How did you speak to different people? How did they respond to you? And then when you got to the point where you could not convince everybody else that they were wrong, even though you thought they were wrong, what you then went on and did when you committed to finishing the project. How engaged did you get in it? How much did you throw yourself into it? How much did you decide to just go with it and try and make it the very, very best success you possibly could, regardless of the outcome? So it doesn't matter whether it's a successful project or a failed project, because that is not the point of the question. The point of the question is to understand your behaviors in that context. I hope that's helpful. Okay, going to move on. Okay. Hey, Zawar. So what you're going to need to do, so you want to know how someone can apply from Pakistan for dev roles. You're just going to need, it depends. I mean, first of all, it's going to depend on how movable you are. Are you hoping to stay in Pakistan and work remotely, or are you hoping to move? So obviously that's one decision you'll have to make. Then the next thing you'll have to do is literally just look at the Amazon job portal. Anybody can apply through the Amazon job portal. But the one thing you're going to have to be cognizant of is if you're looking to move to the US or anywhere in Europe, there's obviously going to be some visa requirements. I believe that Amazon isn't really sponsoring visas so much anymore as they were. I think the pandemic has had quite an impact on their ability to convince the local labor authorities that they cannot hire that resource locally. So if you guys don't know that, that's what you have to do. If you want to sponsor someone from outside of your territory to come in and do the work for your company, you have to build a case for your local labor kind of policy, government, whatever, municipal area. You have to present a case to them to say that you can't hire and fill this role from someone in your locale. Now, obviously, with so much unemployment now as a result of the pandemic, those types of cases are quite hard to convince some of these local authorities. So you'll just have to have a look out for roles that are available and whether or whether not they will sponsor candidates for visas. They usually write that at the bottom of the job description as to whether it's open for visa sponsorship or not. So I hope that was helpful. Good luck. Oh, you spotted what happened to my finger, Deepak. Do you know, it's really embarrassing. I grated my finger. I was just grating a carrot and I mistook my little finger for the carrot and sliced off the top of my finger. It was a bit gross. Thank you for caring. That's kind. Okay, Tamara, this is a good question. So for a technical interview, what would you consider more important, the technical portion or the leadership portion? So it's actually not my opinion, it's fact. The leadership principles are the most important element of the Amazon interview process. You could be the most technically incredible employee and fall flat on your face when it came to the leadership principles and you would not get hired. You could be a okay technical person and be extraordinary when it comes to the leadership principles, and you will get hired, because in the main, those technical skills can be trained, whereas the leadership principles, although to a degree they can be coached, they are much more fundamentally about who you are and how you operate in business. So certainly as a bar raiser, and also equally as an interviewer, you are trained in Amazon to recognize that the performance of the leadership principles is far more important than the performance in any technical skills. I hope that answered your question for you. Okay. Ah, sheesh, okay. So what kind of questions can you ask the bar raiser, as they're usually not from the team you're applying for? So I can tell you the types of questions that people asked me when I was a bar raiser, which I thought were very good and sensible questions to ask me. Generally, they're around my journey to Amazon and in Amazon, and how I found Amazon different to my previous employer. Other questions that I always found interesting were the ones where they would ask me both what I liked the most about Amazon, and slightly more controversially, but always fun, were the things that I didn't like about working at Amazon. That always leads to a very interesting conversation. More broadly, you can ask questions about the organization as a whole. So if you're really interested in some of the extracurricular things that go on at Amazon, which there are many, you can certainly explore that territory with your bar raiser. You could also ask your bar raiser advice. You know, you could say to the bar raiser, if I was to join Amazon, what would you suggest I focus on? Not specifically for my role, but in terms of maybe my overall career development and trajectory at Amazon. What would your recommendation be that I pay particular attention to in the first 6 months? So there are loads and loads of questions that you can ask about just the experience of being an Amazonian that are completely relevant and useful for you, regardless of whether the person that you are talking to is in the team that you are interviewing for or not. Just bear in mind, this person is going to be a highly, highly experienced and trained Amazonian. They've probably been in the business at least a year. Most bar raisers wouldn't get to be a bar raiser if they hadn't been in the organization for at least a year. So they're going to be pretty tenured as well. So they are a really good resource to tap when it comes to the broader Amazon experience. I hope that helps. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh, that was a big jump. Sorry, guys, I had a big jump there and now I have to find my way back. Okay. Oh, we've got lots of people coming for interviews. Hey, Tyrone, welcome back again. Welcome, welcome. Shamsa, you're interviewing for a recruiter role in AWS. Cool. Okay. Hey, Shamsa. Okay, so you've got 17 years recruitment experience and only 12 months tech recruitment experience. From my experience, will your interview be tech heavy? No, Shamsa, your job isn't to be technical. Your job is to be a recruiter. So they're not going to test you on your coding skills or anything along those lines. Your role is as a recruiter, and therefore I would expect that your interview will be around the skills and the behaviors and the experiences of a recruiter. I know loads of people who go in to be tech recruiters in Amazon that have no experience whatsoever in terms of the technical knowledge, but they work really, really closely with hiring managers who make it very, very clear to them what their needs and expectations are when it comes to the resume. Your recruiter absolutely isn't the person that interviews. So thinking about you and what your job would be should you land in Amazon, you're not going to be judging or part of the interview process for the technical teams. You're going to be filtering resumes, doing early phone screens to filter those people through into the hiring manager. Therefore, your knowledge of the tech doesn't really need to be that comprehensive. I have a very good friend, Amy Miller, who maybe you guys know. She's on YouTube, she's on LinkedIn. She is a recruiter for Project Kuiper, which is about launching satellites into space. I promise you, Amy knows nothing about launching satellites. She'd be the first to say that, but she is an incredibly successful recruiter because she knows exactly what she's looking for, how to work with her hiring manager, how to work with her candidates, how to read a resume, etc. So Shamsa, I don't think you should worry about your lack of knowledge as far as tech is concerned. It's not the important bit. Your skills as a recruiter and the leadership principles are the important bit for you. I hope that helps. Okay. How did I become a bar raiser? So I actually have a video all about this on my YouTube channel if you want to go and look at that, but I'll summarize it up for you very briefly. To get to be a bar raiser, you are effectively, that's not even a word, effectively talent spotted as you are an interviewer. So everybody who works at Amazon, if you're probably about an L4 or above, is going to find themselves having to interview for their direct team or maybe some adjacent teams. And what you then end up in a debrief with a bar raiser and other colleagues. And the bar raiser might spot you and think, actually, you're quite a good interviewer, or your manager might nominate you, but somebody has to spot you and nominate you to be what's called a Brit bar raiser in training. You then go through a whole kind of training program. Again, please do look at the video. It provides more detail. And you have a mentor, and effectively your mentor has to at some point write a business case, for lack of a better term, to explain why it is that you are now a very, very strong interviewer and able to be a bar raiser and manage the process, and most particularly the debrief that comes at the end. A group of people read that document. They're called the bar raiser core. They review the document and decide whether it's a compelling case or not. And hey presto, you become a bar raiser. It's simple, but actually really, really, really difficult. It's one of the most difficult things I've had to do. And by the end, you literally want to kill yourself because you just want to get over the line. So some people actually can become bar raisers in a matter of, say, 3 or 4 months. Other people I know have taken well over a year and a half, but it's a really interesting process. One I enjoyed, but definitely one of the biggest challenges I had at Amazon. I hope that helps. Do go look at the video. Okay. Sivan, I'm not going to pull your question up, but I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. I can't give you that level of detail in terms of the actual profile of background that they're looking for software engineers. I'm going to tell you to go to sde.com/Discord. I'll say that again. Oh, no, sdeskills.com. I'm not sure if I said that properly the first time. sdeskills.com/Discord. That's a group of software development engineers and software development managers. And it's this fabulous Discord community, and they all help each other in terms of their career development. There's some mentors in there. They support each other with interview prep, etc. There are definitely a bunch of Amazon SDMs in there. So I suggest you go there, take your question there, and I think they'd be more able to help you in the specifics than I'm able to. I hope that helps. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go, Jigar. So a high-level overview of the loop and how long it takes to know if you've made it through. Okay, So it's actually pretty straightforward. If you're having a loop, you are either going to be meeting maybe from about 5 up to maybe 8 if you're in a really senior role, Amazonians. You get to choose whether you do it all on one day or whether it gets spread across 2 days. Sometimes it stretches to 3 if availability is really tricky. Each interview kind of functions on its own, in its own little kind of world. So they're all similar structure, but they don't connect to each other in any way. You will meet your interviewer. They will introduce themselves, as I said earlier, and you'll then have your interview. They'll give you a chance for question time, and then they'll say, thank you very much, goodbye. The chime will close down, and then the next person will pop up, and you literally start all over again, same structure over and over and over. So that's it for whether it's the 4 or the 8 different interviews that you have in the whole loop kind of round, I suppose, for lack of a better word. Then how long does it take to know if you've made it through? So from a loop point of view, Amazon has an SLA that they try to commit to, which is 5 working days after you finish your interview. So it doesn't count the day of your interview or the day of your last interview, I suppose, but then the clock starts ticking the following business day. So if you had your last interview on a Friday, then the clock will start ticking on the Monday. So you'd have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you would hope to hear back by the Friday. If not the Friday, then the Monday. Weekends don't count. So if you had your interview on a Wednesday, you could then count Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you'd have to miss, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then again, you'd be expecting it on that 5th day. So it doesn't always happen within that time frame. If I'm honest with you, when teams are stretched and under pressure, sometimes that timeline stretches out a little. So I do say to candidates, don't be embarrassed if you haven't heard by the time you expect to hear back, to just give your recruiter just a little bit of a nudge and remind them that you're still there, you're waiting, you're really excited, and you're desperate to hear the outcome. I hope that helped. Okay, I'm just going to cover this one off really quickly, Harry, because the answer is I don't know. So how many rounds of interviews will there be for a security role? I can't tell you that because all different teams do things completely different. One team doing security might do things differently to another team doing security. I can guarantee you the marketing function does things differently to the security team. So the minimum that you'll have, the minimum that's happening in the organization right now is some SDE teams are just putting candidates through an online technical assessment and sending them straight to Loop. So that's the minimum. The maximum you're going to likely have is round 1, round 2, a Loop, and then potentially a follow-up if the Loop isn't able to come up with a final decision, or if the role that you're applying for goes to somebody else and they then want to see if they can find you another role, in which case you might find yourself then having another mini interview with somebody else who's got another role. So that might tip you over as well. So you could find yourself with anything from 1 round to 5 rounds. Best person to ask is going to be your recruiter. So I'm afraid that was a bit of a non-answer, but at least you understand why it was a non-answer. Okay. Moving on then. Ooh, big jump. Ooh, big jump. Wow, what happened there? Sorry, guys, I lost control of that. Dan, I'm just going to answer your question very briefly. I'm not going to pull it up. I can't tell you what the policies are for paid time off. So you just need to talk to your management about that one. Okay. Okay. Ishan. Oh, this is disappointing. So what to do when your Amazon recruiter doesn't get back to you with interview times for the final round? Why would this happen? It's been a few weeks. Yeah, this is really disappointing. I mean, why would it happen? There are so many different reasons that something like that could happen. People go on annual leave and everything kind of gets dropped, or a recruiter finds themselves dragged onto another high priority rec. So they then deprioritize the one that they're working on. There are so many different things that could happen. I suggest to you that you just keep contacting your recruiter. Don't be embarrassed to say, I'm still really keen on this role. I still really want to have an interview. Please do get back to me. And quite frankly, keep messaging them until they get back to you. You actually have nothing to lose at this stage. So be polite, obviously, but reach out to them and explain that you're still keen to interview. Could they please let you know what the next step is going to be and when it's going to be? If you happen to know who the hiring manager is, which is probably not very likely, but sometimes you might, if you've come through a certain referral route or something, then it's often quite useful just to politely reach out to the hiring manager as well and just let them know your circumstances. But I think that's probably a little bit of an edge case. But yeah, don't go quiet, keep pushing and reminding them that you're there and that you still are very keen to interview. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I was waiting for someone to raise this. So the 2 new LPs. So as I guess many of you will know, Amazon launched 2 new leadership principles. Was it Thursday? I don't know them off by heart. I can't even remember their names off the top of my head, but one is about kind of being Earth's best employer. I think I remember that correctly. And I think scale and scope comes with responsibility. Maybe I do remember them. Those are the 2. So as it stands, as I understand it from my contacts within Amazon, there are no questions that have yet been added to the Amazon interview question bank that relate specifically to those leadership principles. So until those questions are added into the Amazon interview question bank and information is provided to Amazonians on the calibration guides for each of those leadership principles, so they know what good looks like and what not good looks like, then you guys shouldn't expect to be asked questions on those leadership principles. The last time I spoke to somebody about this was on Friday, and there was no information in the AIQB or about the calibration guides. So for now, I would say to everybody, don't panic. And I don't think you'll be tested on those leadership principles anytime soon, but it's always worth just checking with your recruiter as to whether they would expect you to be asked those leadership principles or not. My personal view is I think they kind of lend themselves more to senior roles than junior roles. If you're thinking about being Earth's best employer, and if you're thinking about sustainability and your impact on the environment and unintended consequences, those tend to be driven from decisions made by more senior people in organizations. So my money is on, in the long term anyway, I suspect L4s and L5s wouldn't be frequently tested on those 2 leadership principles. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, in the same way that not a lot of people ever get tested on frugality, as an example. But for now, don't stress about it. Okay. Hello, Low Monk. I haven't seen you for a while. Welcome back. Okay, so you've been speaking to some recruiters and you're sad to discover there are hidden qualifications not specified on the position used to filter the candidate. What's my opinion? Well, I guess a hiring manager is entitled to have any qualification they so desire as a criteria for hiring into a role. Why one would bother hiding them seems to be a little bit counterproductive, because if you're hiding them, then you're going to get a whole bunch of resumes and candidates through who aren't going to qualify for your position, and therefore you've just wasted your time and theirs bringing them in through the process. So I can't see any logical reason why anybody would choose to hide qualifications. It just seems like a strange way of investing your time and resources to me. So, I mean, I can't say that I've ever heard of this myself, and I'm always a little bit skeptical about these type of hearsays, you know, even if they're internal Amazonians. You know, internal Amazonians are as likely as anybody to kind of gossip and spread rumor and talk hearsay. So, low monk, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But if it is true, then I'd say the recruiters and the hiring managers doing it are making their lives incredibly inefficient, and it wouldn't be something I would ever bother doing. Hope that answers the question. Okay. Oh, Deepak, thank you. That's really kind. I appreciate that. So let's see what else I can find. Yep. Hey, Tyrone. Yeah, I would definitely reach out. I always think, quite frankly, what have you got to lose? As long as you're polite about it, then yes, I would say reach out. I mean, it's the 28th of June. Yeah, it's a good week or so since then. So yeah, reach out, be polite. Again, same as I said earlier, super enthusiastic about joining, really looking forward to hearing the outcome and whether I make it through to the next stage. Please, can you advise me? So on and so forth. Good luck. Fingers crossed for you. Okay. Hey, Deborah. How much does your recruiter actually know about the position? Hard to know, obviously, because I don't know the recruiter or the engagement with the hiring manager. In theory, your recruiter should know a lot about the position and about the team. My experience of working with recruiters in Amazon is that they literally lockstep with you. They are kind of an adjunct to your team. They know what you do. They know what you focus on. They know what your priorities are. I would be meeting with my recruiter every single week when I was hiring for a role to tell them how it's going, provide them feedback on the candidates that they've given to me, explain why I rejected candidates. If they're unclear on any of my requirements or specifications or any of the language that I use, they would always ask me. They tend to have worked in that space for a while, so they get to kind of know the language and kind of what marketing, because I'm a marketer, is all about. So I would go in, Deborah, with the assumption that your recruiter knows a lot about the role. Ask any questions you have of your recruiter. And if your recruiter can't answer them, then your recruiter can take those questions away and go and have a chat with the hiring manager and get you the answers. But just assume from the outset that they know what they're talking about until they tell you that they can't answer your questions. I hope that was helpful. Okay, Bharat, hello, welcome. Very nice to meet you as well. Or is it meet you? I don't really know anymore. Anyway, so you're going to ask me the key leadership principles for a product management role. So what I say to literally everybody that asks me this question is, each different role is going to have different key leadership principles, even down to a single job family. You could be a product manager and you could be joining a really, really mature part of the business. And your job could be all about building hands off the wheel optimization capability. Or you could be product manager who is launching a brand new, never ever released piece of technology or customer experience that's ever been out there. The leadership principles that are going to be important for those two different roles are going to be completely different. The second one that I explained to you, I would be expecting a ton of think big. The first one I explained to you, I would be thinking and expecting a ton of invent and simplify. So there is no kind of answer to what are the leadership principles that I should be focused on for job family X. So if you really want to understand what the key leadership principles are for your role, and I do have a video about this on my YouTube channel, you have to go to your job description. You have to really understand the leadership principles and what they mean and what the facets are and what the behaviors the interviewer is kind of looking for. And once you understand them, when you read a job description, suddenly you start to see the leadership principles jump out the page at you. And what I do is I take the job description, I take a pencil like this one here, and I draw lines underneath places where I can see the leadership principles are being articulated, and I mark which leadership principle it is that I think I'm seeing. And I mark them all the way, and then I count them up. 5 dive deeps, 3 deliver results, 2 earn trust, 1 think big, literally. And that then gives me a sense of how important each of the individual leadership principles are for this role. So that's my recommendation to you. Get your job description and do as I suggested and work your way through it and mark off where you find the leadership principles and where the weighted contribution of leadership principles are in the job description, and that will give you some guidance. The other thing you can do is ask your recruiter. It's about a 50-50 chance, I think, that your recruiter will actually give you the answer. Half people tell me they get the answer, half people don't. Those that don't, like, the recruiters just said no. There's kind of no other ramifications after that. So no one's going to hold it against you if you ask for the leadership principles and your recruiter says they can't tell you. So that would be my other thing, is just ask the recruiter and see whether you get an answer. Okay, good luck. I hope that was helpful. Oh, okay. So the delay is causing you hold up progress in other recruiters at Amazon. So I shan't use that. If this group of kind of hiring team is holding up another group hiring team, then you should leverage that. You should tell the other group who are waiting and kicking their heels because of, I call them Group A and Group B. Group A are causing a blockage. Get Group B to contact Group A, because it's in Group B's interest that Group A sort themselves out. So it's much easier for people on the inside to shimmy people along, because obviously they can see who their hiring managers are and even see who sits next to them, quite honestly, although I suppose most people are still in their own homes at this point. So use that to your advantage. Contact Group B and ask if they can give Group A a bit of a nudge. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, moving on then. AR, what should you keep in mind when you get into your first phone interview with the recruiter after your resume is shortlisted? Okay, so usually that's what we're talking about here, is a screening call. And at the screening call, what your recruiter is generally trying to get an understanding of is your experience and your skills. They tend to leave the leadership principle type questions to the actual hiring team. What they're trying to do is filter resumes for the people who have the right technical skills and experience for the role. So I think you should probably just prepare yourself for questions around recent projects that you've done or projects that you're really proud of. They might ask you to give them a little bit of the dreaded tell me about yourself question, where you can really focus on your skills and your experience that are relevant for the role. You might get the why do you want this job question. Again, focus on your skills and your experience and how that relates to the role and where you're trying to build your career trajectory to and why this role plays into it. That type of thing. So I would definitely be preparing for the recruiter screen to talk more about your skills and experience than you would be talking about the leadership principles. Doesn't mean to say they won't throw a question in about leadership principles, but I would just expect them to be more focused on your skills and your experience and talking through your career history. I hope that helps. Good question. Ashish, what leadership principles do candidates struggle with the most providing a great answer? You think the hardest in terms of providing examples when preparing is earn trust. That would not be my choice, Ashish. I find that most candidates have no problem with earn trust because it's about relationships and human relationships, and almost every single one of us is going through that experience every single day. So that would be very low on my list of ones that I think candidates struggle with. I actually think most candidates, from my experience, struggle with think big. Most people in most organizations don't get an opportunity to think big unless you're in a large organization and your role is a strategic one, or you're in a small startup organization and quite frankly no one's got really a clue what they're doing and everyone's just out there trying to think really big and differently to build something from scratch. Anybody that's been in any type of medium to large organization in an operational executional role, be it, I don't know, a software development engineer, a marketer, a vendor manager, a product manager, finance manager, etc., they generally just don't get the opportunity to come up with really big, different, interesting ideas. So for my money, I'd put on think big as being the one that candidates struggle the most with. I guess because there's so much diversity in kind of the world and in roles, etc., there isn't really a very, very common thread when it comes to how people's experience plays out with the leadership principles. Think big is the only one that stands out to me as one that I've struggled with, and I found that other candidates struggle with as well. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Hey again, Shamsa. Okay, I'm just dropping down to the bottom just to see. Oh, people, that's my daughter. I forgot that. Okay. Give me a second, guys. I'm really sorry. Honey, I forgot I'm on a live.
Hi. I'm just coming home.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm really sorry about that. That's my little one. I always forget that she walks home on her own at this time on a Monday. So sorry. Okay, moving on. Your 5-hour panel interview, you've listed the leadership principles and the 2 competency-based questions that might be asked. So the format of the panel interview, I think I explained it earlier, so I'm not sure if you weren't here. So really super simple. You will get a intro where someone says, hi, this is who I am, and this is kind of what my background is. They'll then take you through your leadership principle questions, your behavioral questions. Generally, an interviewer is assigned 2 leadership principles, and rule of thumb is they should be aiming for 3 questions, at least 3 questions. Now, some interviewers will do less. If you are going for a particular junior role, it might be that your examples don't have a huge amount of scope and complexity, and therefore they'll get through more. So I can't tell you exactly how many questions you'll get, but it's going to be somewhere between 1 and 6, depending on your seniority and how your interviewer chooses to run the interview. You said you've listed the leadership principles, fine, and 2 competency-based questions that might be asked for this leadership skill. So, I mean, there are 127 questions in the Amazon interview question bank, and an interviewer is entirely entitled to come up with their own questions as well. So you may have come up with 2 competency questions, but the odds are definitely against you as to whether those questions will be the ones that are asked. What I suggest to candidates they do is you come up with your core examples, at least 2 core examples for each leadership principle, and then you go out into the madness of the internet, find all of the questions that anybody says that they've ever been asked at Amazon, which may or may not be true Amazon interview questions from the AIB question bank, and practice. What would I do if I was asked this question? I have my 2 core examples. How would I reshape my core example to respond to this question if I was asked it? Which is very different from, here are the questions that I'm preparing for. because odds are against you that those one will surface. So come up with your core examples that you want to pull from your career history, and then practice telling those examples against multiple different questions associated with that leadership principle. And you will then learn the skill of reshaping examples in response to different questions. And when your questions do actually come at you, you'll have that skill to be able to just respond agilely and reshape, rather than maybe being thrown if the questions don't happen to be the exact two that you had documented and prepared. I hope that helps. Okay. Oh, what happened there? You popped back up again. Okie dokie. Oh, so a few questions I think I've already covered off with other answers. So I'm going to spin past those. I'm not ignoring you. I just think I've probably covered them off already. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through. Okay, yeah, more questions that I've already answered. So okay, there we go. Here we go, Iatha. Hello again. Welcome back. Welcome back. So you had your third interview for your loop today. Okay. Okay, you got LP questions only. Yep, doesn't surprise me. Not sure how much you pressed the interviewer. You're worried what you can do now. There's nothing you can do now. There's nothing. You've done everything that you can do. You've put everything you can into it. You've been here a few times, so I know you're doing your prep. So you just have to let it go now. I know it's really difficult and you want to be able to do things, but you can't. It's done. You've done your part. Now everything else is going on in the background with the debrief, with the bar raiser, and with the interviewers. So the best thing you can do is relax and go think about something else and go do something else, because your bit is now done and dusted. I know it's anxious. It sounds like here that you're a little bit doubtful about how the interview went. The one thing I can tell you is that there have been many studies that prove that there is no correlation between how a candidate feels an interview went and how an interviewer thinks an interview went. So if you didn't feel that necessarily it went as brilliantly as you might have liked, I would suggest that chances are your interviewer isn't thinking the same thing. So well done for getting through it. It's a tough thing to even build up to. So you've done your bit. Relax. You'll find out shortly. Fingers crossed for you. Okay. Let's move on and see what else we've got. Okay, still looking. Oh. Okay, Henna, I'm just rereading this. So I'm going to share it with everybody because I just need to read it. So that's going to take me a few seconds and everyone else can read it at the same time. You had a second interview with Amazon in the middle of June. They sent you an email saying, thanks for your time and I'll count on you for any other positions. So your question is how to know if it was an inclined or one of the other two. Yeah. Henna, I mean, it's not very clear, is it? Very strange. I'm going to go with the fact that that's probably a not inclined and recycle. So they're saying to you that thank you, and they'll kind of look for or consider you for other positions. So if it was an inclined, they'd be saying, great, we want to hire you. We want to give you a job offer. Let's talk more. And that's obviously not what's happened. What they also haven't said is, don't come back to us for another 6 to 12 months. So that would be a not inclined, no recycle. So I'm going to go for a not inclined recycle. But if I were you, Henna, I'd email them back and just say, can I just clarify what the meaning of this email is? Because quite frankly, you'd quite like a thank you, but no thank you, not this time, to be absolutely 100% clear. So again, be polite. But if I were you, I'd be messaging back saying, can I just have some clarity as to what exactly this email is saying to me? So good luck. Okay. Whoops. Low monk. Yeah. So within the same LP, there are manager-related questions. Someone's given you a sneaky peek of the AIQB, haven't they? And regular ones. How differently should you respond to ones in comparison to others? It's not really about how you should respond differently. It's about whether your interviewer should even be asking you those. So as an interviewer, if you know somebody has never had management experience, you should not be asking them any of the questions on the AIQB that relate to managers. So a simple example would be, tell me about a time where you hired somebody who had a skill that you didn't. Tell me about why you made that decision. Or tell me about a time where you hired someone who was better at you at something. Tell me why you did that and how you utilized them. Those types of questions. Those are manager questions because, of course, if you haven't ever been a manager, you've never hired anybody, so you can't answer those questions. So it's not a case, Low Monk, of you answering them differently. It's a case of the interviewer not actually asking you inappropriate questions. And the questions that are there for managers are there because the particular leadership principle has some type of management nuance about it that they want to explore. So I hope that helps. Okie dokie. More people asking me which leadership principles they should focus on. I can't tell you that, guys. You have to read your job description. It will tell you in there. Okay. Shuvik, hello, welcome. I don't think I recognize your name. So if this is the first time, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. So you've got your panel interview coming on Wednesday. Well, at least it's not Friday. We're getting a lot more variety in the days of the week. You're nervous about repeating stories that can be used for 2 leadership principles. How do you use the story in 2 leadership principles? Okay, so I do actually have a literal demonstration of how you do this in my Amazon Interview Wiz Academy interview preparation masterclass, and that goes on a bit, so I can't give you that whole thing, but I'll give you a précis of it. So it is okay to repeat examples. I do tell people try and avoid it if you can, but the if you can is the important bit in all of that. Sometimes it's just not possible to avoid because there are so many questions that you're going to get asked through the entire process. So if you can't avoid it and you do need to reuse one, this is my guidance. We're going to imagine that the 2 leadership principles that you're going to reuse this same example for are earn trust and dive deep. So the first time round when you tell the story and you're talking to earn trust in it, you'll say your situation, and that's really a couple of sentences just to provide context so that the interviewer kind of understands where the story has come from. Then your task. So your task then has to be all about earn trust, right? What are you trying to achieve in the context of earn trust? The actions. What are all of the earn trust associated actions that you took, like who you talked to, when you talked to them, how you spoke to them, what they said, how they responded, all of those things are kind of the earn trust side of things. What the results were, again, completely earned trust. We became great friends after having had a huge fallout, and then they became my mentor, and they've been my mentor for the past 10 years. That's the result of that earned trust story. And then, of course, if you don't know the STARI model, STARI, go back to my YouTube channel where I do have a video about it. But essentially, I tell you to bolt on the concept of improvement onto the end of the STAR example so that it shows that you are vocally self-critical and able to reflect on your performance and identify ways of improving. So again, your I would be all about the earned trust. So I should have faced the issue earlier. I shouldn't have gone around behind this person's back, whatever it might be. So that's the earned trust one. Now you're going to use it again in dive deep. Situation remains the same. That's going to be common between the two examples because it essentially comes from the same context. But at that point, it has to really deviate. And when you talk about the task, you really focus on the dive deep element of the task. And when you talk about the actions, you focus on the dive deep parts of the action. So what systems did you look into? Kind of how many people did you talk to? How did talking to that person lead you to talking to that person? How did this information lead you to that information? The dive deep elements of the story. And then the results, again, focused on the dive deep, and the improvement focused on the dive deep. So although you're using exactly the same example, it really only has a common theme when it comes to the situation part. Everything else then just kind of branches off into its appropriate leadership principle. So although to you, it's the same example, where because of the way you tell it and the elements of the example that you focus on, from earn trust on this side to dive deep on that side, when the interviewers actually see that information in the debrief notes, it actually looks like quite a different example because you're focusing on two different things. The one other tip that I will give you is do warn your interviewer. If you have already used this example before with another interviewer, give this interviewer just a heads up to say, I have used this example before, but I do think actually it's very relevant for this leadership principle. So I'm going to give it to you again in the context of this leadership principle. And that helps because then when they actually go and read the other interviewer's notes, which they will do ahead of debrief, they won't be surprised when they come across this example again, and they'll be prepared for it, and they'll be aware of looking for the differences rather than spotting something, being surprised and going, is this the same example that Shivik gave me? I'm sure it is. You want to avoid that. So just warn them and it will be fine. Follow that methodology and it will be fine. There's no need to be nervous about it. I hope that was helpful. Okay, right. So people, we are amazingly at time. So I'm just going to have a quick look through and see if there's maybe one more that I can pull out that will be useful to everybody. Oh, Ash, I just spotted you. Congratulations, Ash. Well done. So you're second one today. That's amazing. Congratulations. I'm really, really delighted that my content helped you prepare. I put a lot into my content and really it is there to help you guys achieve your goals. So I'm very, very pleased for you. Congratulations, Ash. Well done. Hard work goes into that. Congrats. Okay, so is there one more that I can come up with? Okay. Yeah, henna. All right. Yeah. Sorry, I was just reading through this. You've just given me the exact wording. Yeah. So what you have here, henna, is a not inclined recycle. So they're saying to you that the decision is a not inclined for now, but keep a lookout for future jobs. So they're not putting any moratorium on you. And this is important, Henna, because what this is saying is that you did a really awesome job in your interview, but this was probably not the role for you. Because if they're not saying to you, don't come back for the next 6 to 12 months, that means that overall, they believe you are a strong candidate. But it's just that you probably weren't quite strong enough in the specific leadership principles for that role. So although I know it's a disappointment, actually, it's a positive outcome in the fact that they're saying, keep an eye out for future opportunities, because that will have been a bar raiser saying to the team, right, I don't think Henna's right for this role, but she's still a really strong candidate. So recruiter, please do let her know that she's free to apply to other roles in Amazon. So don't be too disappointed. You obviously did a really good job. Even though you didn't get that role, you should keep applying, because chances are if you come across a role that does lean towards where you are strong in your leadership principles, you will land that job. Okay, so we are at time now. So what I am going to do, guys, is I've mentioned my Amazon Interview Wiz Academy. So I offer, before you all run away and drop off, I offer my Customer Obsession Leadership Principle Masterclass to all of you completely free. I offer it for free because obviously I want you guys to know that my content or experience my content and love it and buy some more. But I also offer it because every single one of you will be tested on customer obsession if you make it through a couple of stages of the Amazon interview process. It's still the most important leadership principle for every single role in Amazon. So if you go and take that masterclass for free, even if you don't buy any of my other content, the combination of that masterclass and my YouTube channel, I promise will set you up very, very well to do well and be successful in your Amazon interview. So please head to the Amazon Interviewers Academy and go and get it. If you don't manage to write down this link, you can check it. It's in my LinkedIn bio, it's in my Clubhouse bio, it's in my Twitter bio. So one way or another, you should be able to find that link and go and grab yourself the course. So thank you very much for your time, everybody. Thank you to all of the questions. You guys who got roles, congratulations. It's an amazing achievement. Everybody else, it is possible. And for those of you with interviews coming up this week, I wish you the very, very best of luck. I'm back again on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. British Summer Time, your equivalent time zone. So if I didn't get to your question today, please do come back and I will try and get to it then. So for now, everybody, please be safe. Please look after yourselves and your family. And I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.